On February 2nd at 12:12 a.m., Shams tweeted this about an insane trade between the Mavericks and Lakers. The crazy thing about this was that most people believed Shams was hacked. After all, there's no way that the Mavericks just traded their best player, Luka Doncic. Funny enough, it was true. Shams would later go on to summarize the whole three-team deal, which added the Utah Jazz into the mix. Essentially, Luka to the Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis and a 2029 first-round pick. The Jazz helped with the money. The league was shocked, and rightly so, and if you are anything like us, it still didn't feel real in the morning. So today, we're going over the 5 most likely reasons why the Dallas Mavericks traded their franchise player, Luka Doncic.
Reason number 1 is health concerns. The Mavericks organization has been a little concerned about Luka's health. He's gained a lot of weight. Recently, reports have been saying that he's been up to 270 pounds, which is, if you look at him versus when he got drafted, it's a huge comparison. He was really skinny when he got drafted, and now he's eating good down in Texas. So he's put on some weight, and the Mavs are a little concerned about that.
I don't know. It sounds a little ridiculous when you talk about it, though. 270 pounds, realistically, does that sound logical to you?
I mean, no. I think, trading someone because they're getting that much weight, it even just for the to the level that he, of a player that he is, even with the performance he's putting out there, it's like, I don't think that should be the reason that, you trade him, is because the health concern. I think you can figure that one out. You know what I mean? Within your front office, I think you can, try to get them on a diet. I mean, maybe they've tried, but you know what I mean? But I don't know. I think that shouldn't be a reason they traded him when he's still performing at a high performance. So
if this is, the main reason why they traded him, which we don't know, it's a dumb reason. I think we can agree on that.
Right.
270 pounds. And first of all, if that is true, that is a little ridiculous. I can't lie. Right. But still, like you mentioned, you can diet. You can stop eating as much. You can exercise more.
He's not lazy.
He
wasn't lazy.
In fact, he's actually better than he was years ago.
Yeah.
So
he's still performing. Again, like I said, he's performing at a high, high level, and he's, incredible in the offense. The defense is maybe a concern, but he's still performing, offensively incredibly. He's one of the best players in the league. So why is, the health the concern? I don't know. I think that's kind of ridiculous.
It better not be the real reason.
It better not be. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'd hope that's not the real reason.
I hope not, man. Also, there's the second point where he was injured this season, right? If they want to blame it on him being injury prone, I think that's also just stupid.
I think it is stupid as well. I mean, again, it all brings back to the value. Luka's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
Okay, he's injury prone. He's 25. He's still young. He's not like he's a bust. You know what I mean? He just brought you to the NBA Finals. He's been a little hurt this season, but that shouldn't be the reason. Okay, we need to trade him now.
Yeah.
Even with trading him, you're not necessarily in a win now mode. I mean, you are, but you're not.
They seem to think they are.
Yeah, they seem to think they are, but you're not the biggest contenders. You got to be a little realistic with yourself.
Yeah.
You just traded away Luka Doncic.
In fact, their odds have actually decreased.
Yeah.
After this,
they have.
It's also dumb because you bring in Anthony Davis, which he's known for being super injury prone.
Right, exactly.
So
he's more injury prone than injury prone than Luka is. So I don't know. I think it's a terrible argument if you want to go by off of injury proneness.
Yeah, and I think it could be a reason. I wouldn't say this is one of the main reasons, or this probably isn't the reason. But again, if it is,
it could have helped. I mean, again, that's something that could have gone into Nico's mind when he was making that trade, but it shouldn't be the main reason. But it's still a dumb thought.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's still a dumb thought. Anyways, moving on to our next reason is defensive ability. I kind of tackled into that with the health concerns. Is he's been putting on weight, and I think by putting on weight, it kind of brings down his defensive ability a little bit. Luka isn't necessarily known to be defensive superstar in terms of the league.
Hell no.
He's more of an offensive scoring player, which is fine. You know what I mean? It's fine when you're performing to his level. Sure, whatever. But again, I think a lot of people viewed Luka as a liability, and maybe the Mavs
on the defensive end.
On the defensive end, excuse me. But maybe the Mavs front office wanted to focus a little more on defense, and I think that's something that kind of killed them in the finals. Not being able to stop the Celtics offense, and not having that defensive anchor. And you know what I mean? I think maybe part of the reason was, okay, I think we can maybe move on from Luka, which we'll get into other reasons why they could have done it. But I think something that, again, maybe was in the back of their mind was, defensive liability. And I think getting a guy like Anthony Davis defensively, as of currently 2025, Yeah, he's better. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
always he's still in contention for Depoy, but in the long term, it's a bad idea. But again,
No,
that's something. I think that's something else we'll tackle onto. But defensive ability. I think Luka might not be the most best defensive player in the league.
No,
so.
definitely. Well, he's not at all.
No,
that's
he's
the
not,
problem.
Yeah, he's not at all.
That's why I kind of think that if there was a main reason, this could be one of them. Among the 5 that we're gonna mention, this might be the most reasonable in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I can understand you wanting to move on from someone who is a defensive liability. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense to me is saying, well, if he can't defend people or teams like the Celtics, first of all, no one could defend the Celtics last year.
Absolutely, no one could have. Yeah, absolutely.
There was no stopping that absolute force of a team.
No.
So can you really blame him for that? And I don't personally think that's fair to do.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, I agree with you.
In addition to this, why aren't they just building around him?
Right.
Why is that not a thought in mind? Sure, if you want more defense, go and get more defense. Get pieces to help Luka. You don't say Luka's the problem and get rid of Luka and replace him with a defensive player. That doesn't make sense to me, and I don't understand it at all.
Right.
That just blows my mind.
You just got offensively 10 times worse.
Offensively, well, not yeah. You did get worse. You got worse.
You got worse. You got worse just all around.
Yeah.
I'm sure Anthony Davis is the better defensive player, but
probably. But
that doesn't mean anything. Luka is still clearly the better player than Anthony Davis. So now you just screwed yourself even more.
If this was 2K, you upgraded your defensive stats and you just completely downgraded all your stats by a ton on the offensive end.
Absolutely. So I mean, sure, if that's what you want to go with, maybe a defensive player that's in a win now mode, sure. But where does that leave you to? But I think that brings me over kind of into our next point of the reason number 3 as to why Luka got traded was just the timeline. I think that's something that gets brought up a lot. I mean, I think the Mavs kind of feel like they're in a win now mode, and it's just kind of crazy to think that 25-year-old Luka Doncic, who is barely, maybe not even entered the prime of his career, is not even in their timeline. Like, they want to win now, and Luka just brought them to the finals. So it's just kind of crazy to think that he doesn't fit the timeline. Again, I think it brings down to the weight. Going back just to further points, we'll go back to the weight. Maybe they thought he wasn't going to lose the weight and he was just going to, be slower and regress. And that's where they wanted to bring someone else who was a little more in shape and, can play better now defensively. Again, that adds into the point of defensive too, was like they want to be defensive heavy team now. They want to go out there. They want to be aggressive. So maybe they thought Luka wasn't that, but I mean, again, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. In fact, I don't see how you can see him not as a franchise guy. To say that he's not part of the timeline. This is the type of shit that a dynasty fantasy football owner would get rid of, I don't know, Jamar Chase because he doesn't fit the timeline. Actually, I have a bunch of older players on the team, so why not just get, I don't know, Derrick Henry and Tyreek Hill out of Jamar Chase? Right. The value might be there in exchange, but logically, you're an idiot.
Right.
And that's just how it is. If you see it like that as even, that's kind of the way I look at it. Sure, did you get the value that you want out of it? Maybe you did, but logically, you don't do that.
Right.
You don't
it's terrible.
do that.
It's so terrible. Nico is. I don't know what he's smoking.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's smoking, man.
I don't know, man.
He's smoking,
I don't know.
He's smoking something good, man. Because it's how do you do this?
It hurts my head. It hurts my head.
I generally can't think of why you think this is a good idea. And here's the thing.
Idiot.
Yeah,
idiot.
Literally, he is actually idiot. You got brick for brains. The thing I kind of want to highlight too is I think they were the ones that were shopping him around.
Yes,
the Lakers weren't the one that approached him, being what do you got for Luka? No, they were all right, let's go find out what we can get for Luka. Why would you do that? And I think that makes me bring into another point. We'll get back into that, but anyways. Again, dumb idea. I don't know why that in their right mind they would do this. I don't know what Nico was thinking. I think something to highlight too is, and maybe it will again tie back into the timeline is
sure.
Jason Kidd, who is their head coach right now. No idea that Luka was getting traded up until when he got traded. He was not involved in this at all. And I think timeline. This might screw yourself a little more because Jason Kidd's a good coach. He led to the Mavericks to the finals last year. With Luka, now we're here. The Mavs haven't been playing too well, but it's mostly because Luka's been hurt this season. And when he has been playing, he's been playing really well. But Jason Kidd, again, he's another guy that gets blindsided, not knowing what's going on, and they don't even tell him. So now he's stuck in a terrible situation where the Mavs aren't going to competing this year. Realistically, they might maybe skim into the playoffs. It's a stacked West. They're not making it to the finals again. Now you're screwing yourself because Jason Kidd, is 1,000% mad at the organization. If you just watch him in the press conference today with Nico, clearly was not upset. Kid's going to want to leave. And now you just screwed your timeline even more because now you got to go and find a new head coach because Jason's not going to want to stay there. Yeah. Why would he? He's not involved in the decision. You just traded one of the best players in the league, and you don't even consult your head coach. Why would you do that? Terrible idea. Jason Kidd's going to want to leave as soon as he can. And now you just screwed your timeline even more because now you got to bring in a new head coach who's going to try to build a new locker room culture in there. And, it's terrible.
It feels counterintuitive. It
screws the timeline. Why would he stay there?
I don't know.
Why? Why would he stay there?
To me, it feels counterintuitive to say your franchise player does not fit the timeline. Okay, maybe the part of me could understand your vision, but then in exchange, you're also screwing your head coach, you're screwing your teammates, you're screwing the chemistry.
Right.
The timeline, who cares about the timeline? Who cares about the timeline?
Who cares?
It doesn't make sense.
Even if you have to sacrifice another couple years of trying to build another team around Luka, you still have Luka. You're still going to be kind of competing in some sense. Now you don't. And now you got 31-year-old Anthony Davis. You've got Klay Thompson, who's on the peak of retirement. You've got Kyrie, who's on the back end in his career. Sure, if this was 2016, great team. 80, Woo. Klay, Woo. Kyrie. Wow, great team. This is 2025, man. Mm-hmm. This is 2025.
This is not 2016.
They're not. Yes, exactly. This is not 2016. This is not the same players that we saw in 2016. They're not the superstar. I mean, Anthony Davis is still a superstar decoy player. Kyrie Irving is still a really good point guard. You know what I mean? Klay Thompson's kind of, regressed since then. He's gotten older, but they have all gotten older. They're not the same guys that they were before. And if you're talking about timeline-wise, sure, they might be good now. 3 years from now, are any of them even going to be there? Who knows? Will Luka be there in 3 years if you didn't trade him? Absolutely 1,000% he would have. Absolutely 1,000% he would have. And the reason why is, I'll get into the fourth point right now because this is actually going to transition over. The fourth reason why the Mavs probably moved on from Luka, and I think this is definitely a realistic one, was the Supermax contract that he was about to get. And that brings me back over into the timeline where the Mavericks did not want to pay him. I don't think they wanted to pay him the Supermax. So they said, okay, let's ship him out and see what we can get in return. That way we're not you know what, screwing themselves isn't even the right term. That way they don't have to commit themselves to paying this much money. And it's like, okay, you could have committed that much money to a guy who's 25 and would have been there, you know what I mean? If you signed him, he would have been loyal to you. He was nothing but loyal. He didn't go out and bitch to the front office about anything. He was a loyal guy who was going to stay there. Now you got guys like 80, Kyrie, Klay, who are going to be gone 3 years. In 3 years, Luka would have been MVP probably in that season.
Good luck.
Bye. Now your best players are going to be gone in 3 years because you wanted to play for the timeline.
Yep.
And now you're not even going to get a title out of it. I want to pull up these contract details, though. Again, getting back into the Supermax. I need to pull it up, just the comparison as to what he would have made. He would have been eligible this offseason for a 5-year, $345 million contract, Supermax from the Mavericks. Again, the Mavericks moved on. He's still eligible to sign, obviously, an extension with the Lakers this season, but now it's only going to go down to 5 years, $229 million, which is still a lot. But he just got screwed out of $116 million because the Mavericks decided, okay, we're not going to pay him. $116 million because the Mavericks didn't want to pay him. He's losing out that much money.
A lot of money.
That's a lot of money. You're still making, what did I say, $229? You're still making $229 million when you get that extension because you're 1,000% getting that money. Lakers are 1,000% going to pay you that money. Why wouldn't they? LeBron's going to be gone in a couple years. You literally have your franchise player for the next couple of years. You moved on. You had the Lakers. The franchises have always just had great talent, but it's just the past couple, franchise guys. You went from Kobe, then wait a couple of years. You went on to Bron. You had Bron. You won a championship with Bron. Now you're gonna move on to Luka, and I could even keep going further back and back and back.
You could.
They've always had franchise guys, and now you've got Luka, who's gonna be your franchise guy for so long because you're gonna pay him. You're Los Angeles. You're absolutely gonna pay him. He's gonna be there. But unfortunate for Luka, he got blindsided, and now he's losing out on, what did I say, $116 million.
Something like that, yeah. Well, I can't wrap my head around who other than Luka would deserve this money? Like, you're sometimes okay. First of all, this is a business. This isn't rainbows and ponies and unicorns.
Right.
This is
The NBA is a business.
The National Basketball Association. It is a business, right? You spend money on your franchise guys who are worth that and perform to the level that you would want them to.
Right.
You're describing Luka Doncic.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
So if paying the guy is the problem, sell the team. Sell the team because you don't deserve to own a team.
Right.
If you don't want to pay the money, the big bucks for players that deserve it, sell the team.
Sell the team.
It doesn't make sense.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
And if you have this money and you said, okay, we're going to save ourselves money and we're not going to pay this guy. We think we could invest in other options. Okay, I'm willing to hear you out. This is where you bring in other guys to support him. And this just wraps in with every point that we've mentioned.
Right.
Or I don't know what they're thinking. You want to pay who else is going to get this money? You're not going to pay AD.
You wouldn't pay AD.
You're not.
I think maybe at the top of my head I could think of two other guys in the league who would have gotten this super max contract, Jason Tatum, Shea. But that's another debate for. I don't know if anyone else in the NBA is deserving of getting that super max contract.
No.
Because all three of those guys are about the 20, 24, 25 age radius where they're just entering their primes. No one else is deserving. I literally do not think if there's anyone else deserving of almost on the upwards of $70 million a year. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
If this is one of the reasons that why they got rid of Luka, which could be, so it's a likely reason.
Yeah, it's a very likely reason.
If it is, they're stingy. They're stingy as hell.
Absolutely, they're stingy. Absolutely, they're stingy, and that's very unfortunate. I mean, again, maybe their thought process is instead of paying this guy on like upwards of $70 million a year, and let's just reinvest that money into balancing out our team a little better. I understand that logic, but at the end of the day, it's Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Like
that's how it is.
You will figure it out. I agree with your point. Maybe, if the Mavs are so concerned about money, sell the team. I know.
Literally.
I saw an interview. Mark Cuban doesn't have full ownership of the team anymore, but he's taking a step back from the GM role, and I think if he were in that GM role, Luka's not getting moved. I saw a video today about Mark Cuban talking about how he hated trading players, especially guys that they drafted or guys that he had personal connections with, and Luka's your franchise guy. So if Mark Cuban had a bigger role, I don't see like him getting traded. It's a tough business.
No, he wouldn't do that.
Clearly, Nico didn't care
that.
because Nico didn't call him. He didn't give him the heads up. He just texted him and said, I don't even know what he spewed out. He spewed out some to Luka. Luka didn't even respond.
He was like,
oh,
why would he?
He's like, oh, but he's kind of probably upset at me right now.
Well, yeah, duh. No shit, man.
No shit, man.
The whole world is against you right now. Have you seen the stuff that they're putting outside of the Dirk statue?
Yeah, the fans are putting out like signs and stuff saying like so much stuff like "We love you, Luka," or Mavs sell the team. Just all this kind of stuff is just like clearly the fans they're speaking their mind and you're not listening.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You're a terrible front office at this point. It's a really unfortunate situation. I think the Mavericks just screwed themselves.
Yeah,
really, really bad. And I think you can say this, for a lot of guys maybe that thinking about coming to Dallas in the free agency. Watch what they just did to Luka. They just screwed the best player, potentially the best player in the NBA, out of $116 million, and they just shipped him out, without even saying goodbye. Realistically, you think a free agent's gonna, find that attractive and want to come here?
No.
They're gonna be like, okay, well, this guy is a jackass. I'm not coming here.
No,
Hell no. I'm
gonna
go somewhere where the front office actually cares about their players, and you know what I mean. I think the Mavericks just screwed themselves huge. I think it's really unfortunate. They're not going to be good for the next couple of years. They screw themselves big time.
They think they are. That's the thing, and that kind of leads into the fifth point, right? Do you want to get into the fifth reason?
Absolutely, it does. And you're right. It leads into the fifth point of it's just an eternal argument. We don't we don't know the full details of exactly what happened, and it's for this to happen where Luka just gets traded without any rumors of him getting traded, and just how it all went down. Something happened and we don't know about it yet.
There's got to be.
There has to be something that happened and we're just not exactly pinpointing what happened. But there could be a lot of things. You know what I mean? I want to go back to the point of his weight and his health. When the Mavericks made the finals last year, and there's a clip of it. I'll try to pull it up on here. When the Mavericks made the finals last year, the vice president of the Mavericks organization Walked up to Luka. Luka was celebrating in the locker room. He's standing there talking, holding a beer. He was drinking it. And the vice president walks up, takes the beer out of Luka's hands, shakes hands with the other guys around him, and then walks out without even really acknowledging Luka. He just stole the beer from him and walked out. And I don't know if that's something maybe, at the moment it was kind of funny. Like, oh, no one really thought anything of it.
Yeah.
But now you look back and it's like, oh, man, maybe they thought this, this guy's drinking beer. Like, he's putting weight on. Like, why would he do this? We're concerned about his health. Like, cut
like
that out.
Like it's a behavior thing
like it's
or
a behavior
something.
that I don't even know. Like, they're like treating him like he's a child. Like, he walked up, he took the beer out of his hand and walked away.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And also, if I'm Luka, I look at that as like, what the hell? Where is this disrespect coming from?
That's extremely disrespectful. You're right.
Like, where's the connection between? You're supposed to have a good connection with your superstar player.
Right.
You're supposed to.
You're supposed to treat him like a god, especially
Yeah.
to the level that he's at. And they just traded him like he's a high school basketball player where they gotta watch out and make sure they're following every step that he takes.
Yeah.
Took the beer out of his hand. That's extremely disrespectful. That's a grown ass man that just brought you to the NBA Finals, and now you're gonna walk by him while he's celebrating and take the beer out of his hand. Like, come on, man, what are we doing? And I it's just extremely disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I think something else to bring about is Luka had no idea, Jason Kidd had no idea, the league did not know. There's no clarity.
Pelinka.
Yeah,
Pelinka thought he was joking.
He
thought he was joking about it.
I would think as a joke. If I was a GM and I got that call, I'd be like, oh, this is a prank call. But like, there's no clarity.
No clarity in the room.
Like, again, Luka had no idea. Jason Kidd had no idea. I highly doubt Mark Cuban had any idea. One of the predominant owners of the Mavs organization. I don't think any of the owners really knew. I think it was down to Nico making that decision, thinking what was best for the team. Which, I mean, maybe long term, I eat my word, and maybe they work it out, and maybe the Mavs kind of figure it out in a couple of years. But I think they're screwing themselves, and there's no clarity. No one knows what's going on besides Nico, who's not thinking logically. He's just thinking in the moment, not listening to anyone. Terrible, man. This is terrible.
Yeah, I don't get it, and I truly think this is kind of one of those like conspiracy theory type of things.
Yep.
Because we don't really actually know if there's an internal argument, but it could have been a reason why he was traded, along with everything else, all these other reasons. We don't know if there is conflict in the locker room. Like, we don't know anything, but from the beer clip and from just the no clarity between the management, you can kind of draw assumptions that maybe there was no clarity to begin with. Maybe they didn't like the communication that they were getting from Luka, and Luka didn't like the communication from, like, for all we know, like, we're hearing things like, oh, Luka didn't know this was happening, he was blindsided, but maybe, like, and this is just a theory, maybe he did want to get traded. And maybe that's one of those things that we just don't even know. But, these are one of these conspiracy theory things. We have genuinely no clue.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think in the next coming days we'll probably get a better understanding of exactly what went down.
Yeah.
Once more reports come out. But again, for now, it's kind of we're left in the dust of why.
Yeah.
Why did they do this?
Why did they do this?
I mean, we have our reasons to what we think could be, as we listed the 5 main reasons. But I think the real reason or reasons will come out in the next couple days. And I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what's going on, whether this is just a whole front office issue, if this is Luka maybe having issues with the front office and wanted to move on. Who knows what it could have been? But again, it's just something to really note as well that the Mavs were the one making the calls about Luka Doncic, not the Lakers made the call. The Mavs were the one that made the call about trading Luka to the Lakers. And I think something to bring up too is just if you were going to trade Luka, why would you not make him open to the entire league to see what you could have gotten? To see you gotten something crazy. I think someone could have offered something even crazier than, what actually happened.
But apparently they just wanted AD.
I understand, maybe wanting AD in return, but like I think someone could have offered you something really better. Honestly, if you just made it if you just made it open market and said, okay, highest bidder wins, you could have gotten something better. But I don't know. Again, that's something I think we'll come back to in the next couple of days as to why was it the Lakers that they called? There was only, I think, from what the reports that I'm hearing, there was only 2 teams that they made offers to. I think one of them declined. There's a mystery team. We don't know who the team was. Other team declined. Lakers obviously took the deal. Why would
franchise guy, by the way.
Why would you not take the deal if you're the Lakers? That's like this is the easiest layup of easy, like just winning trades.
Oh yeah.
The Lakers easily win this trade.
Oh yeah.
And the Mavericks just screwed themselves big time.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It hurts my head, and
it does.
I don't understand it. It still doesn't feel real. But we'll turn to you guys and ask you guys what your thoughts are on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because you're probably just as confused as us. Since the moment the trade happened, I still can't understand it. So let us know your thoughts down in the comments, whether or not you actually think the Mavericks did the right choice or not. We seem to think not. But let us know your comments down below, and stay tuned in for more breaking news content with the NBA trade deadline coming next week, as well as our weekly podcast episodes that we drop, and social media content, which will be linked down in the description. We will see you all in our next episode, which will probably be our podcast episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in our next episode, we'll try to go back, and if there's any breaking news that comes out about this whole, situation, we'll recover that and come back and talk about that. But up until then, we'll see you guys in the next episode, and thanks for watching.
See you guys.